People do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And
Yep.
so if you build that relationship, this is a relationship business, they'll stay with you.
Not asking a customer, if you don't ask a customer a question, you're not going to know whether the answer is yes or no.
If you're processing it on the phone person, tell somebody what their new premium is so they don't call you in 3 weeks because they just spent the top of their budget on a vehicle change and now their insurance went up $75 a month, and they don't hate the car dealership. They hate you. All right, everybody. Well, we are here today talking about the need for templates, automation, agencies become efficient and effective. And I'm joined here by Therese Potter and George Robertson. If you guys have been following along, you know, George is everything automation, technology, systems, and agencies, and has an awesome business helping agents with that. So we thought it'd be fun to just do like a top 10 templates we think every agency needs and kind of going from there. So I don't mind kicking it off a little bit, but one of mine is just, hey, your renewal is coming up. And this is one that I always giggle because early on in my insurance career, I was like, that's poking the sleeping bear. We don't want people to know about the renewal. And I had this whole long epiphany and I was like, so let me get this straight. You're scared if the client knows that they're renewing and you talk to them, they're going to leave. And people are like, yes. And I was like, so you're scared if you talk to your customers, they're going to leave. And I was like, do you know what a weird business principle that truly is? Most people want to try to talk to their customers more, but not in insurance. And so I like to remind people so much has changed, where there's over billions of dollars spent on advertising now in insurance. There's producers using CRM tools to go poke your customer. If you are not engaged in that conversation, you're just basically asking the customer to find another agent. So I don't know, to me, and curious what you guys think, both of you guys, like agencies who adopt that principle, we don't want to poke the sleeping bear. I feel like they're waiting to have their customers taken from them.
Right. I agree, Kelly. And I tell you, to that point, with all the automation that's out there, those agencies that are joining in on that, those emails are going out. So if somebody has the auto and you've got the home, whoever has the auto, they're probably sending something to your client. So you better be doing the same thing, and you better be reaching out and trying to get those clients to communicate, because it's all about people who do business with people they know, like, and trust. Right. And
Yep.
so if you build that relationship, this is a relationship business, they'll stay with you because they're like, oh, I've been with them for so long. They're great. I love them. They do a great job. And then that goes back to the testimonial piece too, and using those testimonials in there. But I just point that out.
I think in 2020 changed a lot of things. I think we kind of phased away from the relationship and everything with email, and nobody wanted to, it was like, let's not communicate. Like, we're just not going to communicate. That's just what we're going to do. And now people are just wanting those relationships so much that we need to build those relationships. And saying that your client, the poking the sleeping bear thing is like a fear thing. I'm so afraid, that, it's like not asking a customer. If you don't ask them a customer a question, you're not going to know whether the answer is yes or no. Same thing with, getting and doing these renewal calls. You basically have to build that relationship with that customer, because now the customers are looking for those relationships. That's what they're needing. Even if they don't know it, a lot of customers want and need those relationships, and they don't realize it until they start talking to an insurance agent. And they're like, oh, this is very interesting. When they learn stuff about their own policies and they learn that they need other coverages, I think you empower the client by speaking to them, educating them, and talking to them about their renewal.
And I always like to say, in a hard market, here's the situation. People are paying more, they expect more. The clients had a lot of things, like they never maybe had an accident or a claim or made a change. So anytime, if I stay in a $600 a night hotel room, I have a much different expectation than a $150 a night hotel room. And we've asked our clients to pay more due to market conditions, so we need to provide more. So Therese, do you have one that you like as a second, maybe templatized communication that agencies need to embrace?
Cross-selling. I think cross-selling is an excellent template. I think we get onto a call and we're like, oh, let's do this. Let's get this. Let's change that car out. And we're done. Click, hang up. And I think we forget about the fact that the customer may have auto with us and not have their home with us or not have an umbrella or, there's something missing. I think cross-selling, an kind of sparks that conversation. So you could have a templated email that says, hey, we have your auto, but we don't have your home. And then you could do a follow-up call. Hey, did you get that email talking about, us possibly quoting your home for you because there's discounts that are involved? But a cross-selling templated email is an amazing way to spark a conversation and kind of put that doubt in the customer's mind of, oh, where do I have my home policy? It's not with you. Where is it? Because a lot of them don't even know where it is. Some of them it could be with a mortgage company, which is even worse. Others, they're like, oh, I have no idea where that is. When I bought the house, the mortgage company told me where to insure it. So it's really a conversation worth having.
I like that. All right, George, what do you think is your favorite email template?
I'm going to say that the onboarding, the new email, the welcome to the family email. Here's our family and here's what we do. And we just are so happy to have you on board. I think that email right out of the gate is great. And just, structuring that in such a way, maybe it's a couple of emails in a process in the campaign, right? Describes different things because the first email doesn't need to be too astronomically long. So you want to kind of focus on those. But I think that welcome email is a great one.
Yeah, I do too. And that was also a huge time saver for people know where to go get service. Cause I think that's a trip up producers have, right? It's like, well, everybody just calls me all the time. And I can't sell because they're all calling me. Well, if that letter goes out, then you say, oh, absolutely. Let me get you to so-and-so, your account manager. I know you might have missed that in the welcome letter. Let me go find them. So it's not this awkward conversation too. So I do love that one. My next one is following up with quotes, right? So we want to do everything in our power to close it on that call 100%. But if we can't and we get too busy to follow up, we just spend all that time quoting, all that time building rapport. And maybe we're moving on to the next one, or we get sick, or there's a power outage. Let the system help you follow up. I said this in one of the earlier podcasts. It does not replace you. You still need to pick up the phone, but let the system also help follow up. I know if I get a phone call and I got an email from Therese, I would be like, oh yeah, let me keep the email. I know I need to call her back. It's kind of a reminder as well. So let the system follow up as far as chasing your quotes. I think that that's huge. Therese, what is your next one? We're on to 5 already, if you can believe it.
Claims assistant email. As someone who actually had to file a claim because I got hit a couple of years ago, I thought to myself, I cannot imagine a client who doesn't know anything about insurance trying to walk through this claim process because it is extremely complicated.
Yeah.
So if you send claim assistant email, it will guide the customer through the process. And it'd be cool to put on, hey, this is claim assistance email, star this email, save this email. So if something does happen, you have something to guide you through that process. And then if it's, claim assistance email that happens, it may be sparked once they have a claim, you need to make sure that you're calling out and saying, hey, are you okay? I saw you have an accident. Are you okay? Because that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple different ways to have a claim assistant email. It could be just an email going out and, giving a process so they save it for the future. It could be an email that reminds us that, hey, somebody had a claim. Let's call them, check in on them, make sure they're okay, and make sure they know that their agent, we're here, we're agents. I see on Facebook groups all the time, oh, I just had a claim and I don't know what to do, asking on social media. And I'm like, call your agent. So we need to remind them that we are there to help them walk through that process.
Well, and I also think sometimes we do those claims where it's like, okay, we take the claim or they call the carrier and then we're missing. And they're not sure who to, where at least with an email, like right back, like, I haven't heard anything. It makes it just easier to, if a claim's going sideways, to really help with that, I think.
Yeah. And I think, Kelly, to that point, the sooner you get involved in that process to know if that claim's going sideways, the better.
Yeah. Yes. Because they'll go to social media, tell everybody they know,
Right.
everybody's asking them, and then you don't really get the what you're truly looking for in the long run. Sure thing. All right, George, what's your next favorite one?
I'm going to say something I ran into the first time I saw this was with the Instar system.
Going back in the day.
Back in the days of policy change confirmation, it was quite interesting what they did in the system at that point. When you made the policy change in the system, it asked you at the end of the process if you wanted to send an email to the client. And it took the policy change that you put in the system, copied it into the email, sent it to the client, told them this is what we sent to the carrier to change. You're going to get a notification from the carrier in a few days, verify that this is correct. This is what we have. That this is not correct, please call our office immediately. And I thought, that's beautiful. What a great idea. And so I just fell in love with that. So I would say that's my next one.
I like that. I do like that. I'm going to go kind of the next one this is just one I believe in strongly, which is policy change confirmations. So whenever you're going to make a change, you send them a quick email. Like, I just want to confirm this is what we did. It's on file. You can attach it. Great for your E&O. That way they can't go back and be like, I never told you to take that vehicle off. It's like, here's what we got. Right.
That's exactly right. That happens, fairly regularly in the agency. Some things like that pop up.
If we can put in there the premium change. So when they get the bill and they're like, I didn't know, even if you talk about it, and this is one of those, I could talk about the endorsement process. If you're processing it on the phone with the person, tell somebody what their new premium is so they don't call you in 3 weeks because they just spent the top of their budget on a vehicle change and now their insurance went up $75 a month. And they don't hate the car dealership. They hate you.
Right. Especially if you're not in that change process, if you're adding a new driver, first-time driver.
Yes, please. So,
they probably have no idea what that's going to cost until you tell them, and then you hear them hit the floor.
Well, and I just love it because it's like, hey, here's what it is. They can save it on file. You have it on file. If somebody calls up upset, it's like, oh, did you get the email I sent you confirming all of this? They're still upset, but they're like, oh, guess it's a little bit on me too, right? Like it's different. All right, Therese, what do you have as the next one?
Client appreciation. One of my favorites is just letting the customer know that you're thankful for them. Something that's not salesy. Something to remind them that, you do care, you do appreciate that they are customers, that they have, they're staying with you, they're loyal to you. So just a quick thank you is appreciated.
Yeah. And Therese, you mentioned earlier about birthday. I really point this out. You'd be really surprised at how many people don't get a birthday card or a birthday note. And when you send that out to a client, that may be the only one that they receive. And it just means the world to them. So you mentioned that earlier. I just want to reemphasize that point.
Especially in December.
Teresa's birthday's in December.
I was going to say, I wonder whose birthday's in December, Kelly.
Yeah. And I do say this too. It's also a great time to remind your personalized clients, like, check your license. Does it need to be updated? And when I worked for a technology company, we would see over a 50% open rate on the birthday emails, which was the highest of any single email out there. So
yeah. And one thing on the birthday emails, and I'm sure you guys do this, we need to change those every year.
Yes. Can't use the same thing.
Can't use the same one. I share a story, Kelly, which I probably shouldn't share, but I share a story of one particular individual when I was going through my 20s. I gave a birthday card to, and then the next year I went out and bought a birthday card for them. And Kelly, believe it or not, I picked the same birthday card out, didn't remember it. And they showed it to me and they said, what'd you do, by multiples?
Maybe. Maybe, right? I don't know. Maybe I did. That's too much. Yeah, I think the client appreciation is good. I also do like the next one, lapse policy follow-up. So the whole idea of calling non-pays is all very controversial. I know I have some thoughts on it, but we have a fair amount of agencies that will contact them the day after, right? And just be like, hey, your policy's lapsed. You need to figure your life out. And I do like that because there have been a handful of situations in my life where my policy was going to lapse and my agent does make late payment calls. But one of them was travelers didn't have the suite number on my workers' comp, and our workers' comp is very insignificant in premium, right? So I wasn't thinking about it. So I never got the bill. Well, do you typically pay bills you don't get? So I had another time too where like my debit card was under like fraud alert because I travel so much and the payment got bounced. And you get 1,000,001 emails, so I missed it. And so that was very helpful to have a quick little like, oh shiznizzle. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, the carrier sends this. Well, if you live your life on the road like I do, sometimes that's true, or sometimes you get your mail like once every 2 weeks. So it doesn't always equal out. So I do like the lapse policy just to let people know and confirm and see if they need anything. I think that's good. Therese, do you have a next one?
Referral requests. I can't express how important this one is. I have a friend who's an agent who lives in a pretty, it's a large town, but it's a small town feel. And no one knew she was an insurance agent. I went to an event and all these people kept coming up and talking to me in this town with this event. And I'm like, yeah, this person can do the quote for you. And I'm like, she's an insurance agent? I'm like, yes, she's an insurance agent. And I talked to her and I'm like, why do people not know that you're an insurance agent? Well, I'm like, there's your referrals. I think we forget, if we believe in ourselves and what we do for people, we need to make sure that other people know that we are there and that they can refer their friends and their families. And this particular person is a great agent. She really is helpful to everyone. And I think once people knew that she was an insurance agent, she probably got referrals left and right. So we can't forget to ask for the help. And it's not, try me and salesy. It's just,
Right.
hey, if I helped you and I did a good job for you, is there a friend or a family member out there that I can help? Because as you know, I may have found this coverage for you, or I may have recommended this coverage, or educated you on this coverage. Who else can I educate that that would benefit from it?
I like it. I like it. And then George, do you have any final ones that are your faves out there in the ecosystem?
I would say a feedback request. One of the things we really like to see is how are we doing? How is the staff doing? Are we missing something? I don't know if you use SurveyMonkey or some other tools out there that are available to just do a little survey of your clients to say, how do we do in the onboarding process? How do we do in the renewal? And just see if we need to tweak the system. It's always good to get feedback, good or bad. And if it's bad, we know where to go to fix it, and we work on it, and we address it. And if it's good, you praise everybody and you keep doing what you're doing.
Well, that's true, because I do think the team does like the good feedback, right? Like from customers. And as a leader myself, I love hearing if somebody's off track, like that's a good piece of feedback, right? Like, you're right. Like that's not something we did great. You can't be defensive about it. People's perception is their version of reality. And I kind of like to remind people of that, Well, this has been super fun, guys. I really appreciate everybody hopping on today for some podcast time. George, always a pleasure having you on board and learning a little bit. So if you need anything from any of the systems he's talked about today, because there's been so many, you even went back, I think we used the word Instar, which was like
that's an oldie but a goodie.
Blast from the past, right? Like, and maybe you're still on Instar. Maybe there's a couple people out there that are just plugging along, hoping for the best. But I just want to keep reiterating, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. If thinking about setting up automation, thinking about getting your systems in place is just not where you love, call George so that he can help you, and then you can go sell more policies to pay for George. That's usually how it goes, right?
That is exactly correct, Kelly.
And if you're like me and don't want to sit there and look at a blank piece of paper and figure out, well, what are all these communications, and your brain kind of spirals out of control, check out our communication template library. I mean, it's a starting point, right? You can tweak it. In fact, I encourage all of you guys to tweak it and make sure that you're doing it. I'm going to throw out one bonus template out here just to conclude the podcast. I do think, and True sort of mentioned it earlier, but just even I call them like the love on your leads or love on your customers email, like Happy Valentine's Day, change your smoke detectors, or 4th of July, and make it fun. Please, people, don't make it about insurance. Okay. Like, you could do Happy 4th of July and put all your team's favorite 4th of July activities, like something that's more warm, fuzzy. People don't like insurance, so if we can get be a little bit more likable, it goes a long way. So thank you, guys. We appreciate you so much, and we'll make sure that George's contact information is in the podcast notes. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.